As the NFL draft approaches, many fans might be wondering, why has the NFL draft become a traveling roadshow, and why is it no longer in New York? For years, we became accustomed to seeing the NFL draft in the Big Apple on the grand stage of Radio City Music Hall. While Radio City Music Hall is the first place many people associate with the NFL draft, let's look at why the NFL draft was influenced by one of the most powerful figures in New York sports and why it is no longer at Radio City Music Hall. For a little background, we have to take a look at the worst owner in New York sports. Nope, not them. Close, but no. Yes, James Dolan. Just muttering those two words sparks a fury among New York fans, and while I can go on and on and on about why he is a terrible owner, he is crucial to this story. Years after being the driving force to spurn the Jets in their West Side Stadium proposal out of fear of competition, Dolan would once again impact another home for the NFL, Radio City Music Hall. While many know that James Dolan owns many things like Madison Square Garden, the Knicks, the Rangers, and Cablevision, he also owns multiple properties in Manhattan. The second most famous venue after arguably Madison Square Garden that he owns is Radio City Music Hall, the famous theater that has become synonymous with entertainment in the city, and after the Christmas Spectacular with the Rockettes, arguably the second biggest event of the hall was the NFL draft. So what happened? Let's rewind the clock back to 2014. For years, the draft was held in late April. However, that spring, the draft was moved all the way back to May 8th due to a scheduling conflict. If you know anything about the NFL, they don't like being told what to do. And this did not sit well with the NFL, despite the record-breaking ratings on television, and the league was not happy about moving the date back from April and preferred the late April time slot. When discussion was taking place about the following draft and James Dolan had once again scheduled a spring spectacular and refused to reschedule it for the NFL, the league was basically told that not only would Radio City not be available in April, but Dolan had made the venue unavailable in May as well and suggested that the draft take place in June. Bad idea, Mr. Dolan. See, the NFL did not want to directly compete with the NBA and NHL playoffs during that time and loved the late April slot because it didn't compete during the playoff season of those two major sports. With the draft in June, it could hurt the ratings and the NFL wasn't going to take any chances. And not to mention, it broke one of the three capital rules it had for hosting the NFL draft at a venue or city that had to uphold these rulings for the draft. The first, the availability of the third and fourth weekend in the month of April. Second, the ability to host an NFL fan festival in adjacent outdoor-indoor facility. And third, a hotel availability for fans, media, staff, and prospects. While the draft space was limited at Radio City Music Hall, the lack of availability and James Dolan attempting to push the draft back not only to May but to June was the final straw for the league, who were also considering a new idea for the draft. The league quickly announced that the draft would be moving to Chicago for 2015 and had left it open for other cities in the future. The NFL had been getting offers from multiple cities before, and with the draft's popularity soaring, the NFL had a new and mobile commodity on their hands. With Radio City Music Hall becoming more difficult to work with and the growing amount of cities that wanted to host the draft and would pay through the nose to get it, the NFL made the decision to take the draft on the road and has never looked back. Since then, the draft has visited Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, Nashville, and was scheduled for a massive show in Las Vegas until the COVID-19 outbreak. And the event keeps growing. In 2017, the draft saw 250,000 people visit to Philadelphia. And last year in Nashville, it was visited by 600,000 people. That's roughly the population of the city of Charlotte that visited the draft. That's a lot of people. At this point, it's highly unlikely, given the popularity of the draft, the number of people who attend, and the money involved with the draft. Could New York City potentially host it again? Sure, but it would have to be at a different venue or in a different capacity. The draft's popularity and ability to make a city a tourist attraction for a week has become highly valuable. And while New York City does have multiple theaters, just look at the number of people that want to attend the draft. Over 600,000 people. That's going to be a little bit tough in a theater that sits about 6,000 people. The league loves how the draft is no longer just an event. It's an experience that continues to grow and move year after year. Cities love it too. Last year, Nashville may have reported $133 million over the 3-day event. the highest the city has ever made over a 3-day period. It's an attractive event that cities are lining up for, and the NFL right now is happy to provide. While many of us grew accustomed to seeing the draft at Radio City Music Hall, it's just outgrown the venue. Even though it may sadden some NFL fans, the NFL draft will probably never see another draft pick walk across the stage of Radio City Music Hall.